Hi there, I'm Lou Sherman, Technical Consultant in Customer Success, and I'm a friend of Max. This video is an overview of API Manager, where we'll be talking about what is API Manager, how does API Manager manage mule and non-mule applications, what's the difference between API Autodiscovery and API Proxies, and when to use which of the two concepts. So let's get started. Before we look into API Manager, let's have a quick look into the life cycle of an API, from first thought to final deployment, and how you can then manage your API. It all starts with Design Center, which is used to create the API specification or the contract. API designers will create the API specification by using RAML or OAuth as a language. Once you have defined your contract, the next step is to publish it to any point exchange, where users can have a look at it, discover and reuse existing assets, and also provide feedback on the specification for future improvements. After publishing the API specification to any point exchange, you will most likely want to start implementing your API. In this step, your developers will search for the specification in any point exchange and then import the specification into Anypoint Studio. In Anypoint Studio, developers implement the actual API based on the specifications created earlier. After finishing the API implementation and proper testing of your API, you will probably want to deploy your new API so that your end users and consumers can finally use it. In order to do so, you can use Anypoint Runtime Manager to deploy and manage your deployable to your choice of target. It could be Cloud Hub, an on-prem standalone Mule runtime, or Runtime Fabric, for example. So this is in short the typical workflow to get an API from first thought into production. Now if you want to be able to apply policies to your API and get analytics back, we need an additional component in this picture. And this is where API Manager comes in. API Manager will provide you with an API ID that connects the application to API Manager to enforce policies and retrieve analytics. But how does this work? How can API Manager communicate with your Mule API in Runtime Manager? Well, the answer is API Autodiscovery. First, you need to select the API that you want to manage from within API Manager. You can select between managing an API from Exchange, creating a new API where we have to upload a new API as RAML, OAuth, or SOAP definition, or you can manage an API by importing an API configuration zip file. As soon as you have selected the API to manage, API Manager will provide you with an API ID. This API ID serves as the key to connect your API with the Anypoint platform to apply policies and retrieve analytics. Your developers will then take this API ID, create an API Autodiscovery component in your Mule project in Anypoint Studio, and fill that component with the API ID from API Manager. Once you have then deployed your API, API Manager will show a green started status indicating that API Manager is now ready to apply policies. Let's look a little deeper into API Autodiscovery and how API Manager plays together with your API. First, we have some end users who are trying to invoke your Mule API. Then, as the API invocation is trying to add your Mule API, API Manager will take the built-in API ID to pull policies from API Manager. And if there is no violation of the policy, the data or the request will go through your flow in the Mule API. From a technical perspective, Runtime Manager pulls the policies from API Manager. So API Manager will never push any data to your runtime to ensure security. After that, your Mule API processes the traffic and sends analytics back by providing the API ID to API Manager. And last but not least, the data or the request is processed to the underlying backend system or the underlying API. But what happens if you want to manage and secure any non-Mule applications or APIs? Is there a way for API Manager to manage non-Mule applications? The answer is API Proxies. API proxies are mule applications with the purpose of bringing traffic from an external API through the MuleSoft API gateway to enable API Manager to manage the implementation behind the API proxy. Think of it like a pass-through application which has automatically built in the concept of API Autodiscovery when you deploy your Mule API proxy. And because our API Manager and proxy solution exists, enterprises can have a single way to secure and govern all of their APIs. We've seen that many enterprises want to make security easier, and this is exactly one way to help achieve that vision. Let's look a little deeper into how API Manager, your non-Mule API, and your API proxy play together. This is the initial situation where you have a backend system that has a non-Mule API to expose data. The issue is, by accessing that non-Mule API directly, you cannot apply policies or get insights into analytics from within API Manager. And the solution is, we are creating a proxy. First, we have some end users who are trying to invoke your API proxy, which is nothing different than a simple Mule application. As your API proxy has automatically enabled API Autodiscovery, API Manager can now enforce the policies by making the proxy pull the policies. If there is no policy violation, your proxy will then invoke the non-Mule API and push analytics to API Manager. From there, your non-Mule API takes the normal way, where it will process the request or the data to the underlying backend system. Please make sure your non-Mule API is secured as well, because just having a proxy in front of another API doesn't mean the implementation itself of your non-Mule API is secured. Now that we've seen what's the difference between a basic endpoint with built-in API Autodiscovery and a proxy endpoint, let's look into some considerations when to use each of the two concepts. Basic endpoints are usually preferred when resource usage must be as small as possible. In this case, the embedded API policy enforcement is preferred because the number of nodes approximately doubles when API proxies are used, as we then have one implementation and one separate proxy application. Another scenario where customers decide to take the basic endpoint approach is when the deployment architecture and CI/CD pipeline need to be as simple as possible. Endpoints with a proxy are usually preferred and required when customers want to manage non-Mule APIs and hence do not execute in Mule runtimes. Another scenario where customers decide to follow the endpoint with proxy approach is if they have special resource or network requirements. In this case, API proxies are preferred because they can be deployed to dedicated machines. For example, a caching API policy is best served by a few machines with large amounts of RAM, and API proxies can be configured accordingly. So what did we learn today? We started with API Manager and how it fits into the software development lifecycle, had a look into the two different concepts of API Autodiscovery and API proxies, and also common scenarios where we might want to use each of the two different concepts. I hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to leave a comment, check out the links in the description for further reading, and don't forget to watch the other Friends of Max videos too. I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.